Denver Health gets a $10 million helping hand from another healthcare provider, but doubles down on their request for more.
These are great contributions. They don't fill the entire hole.
Hospital leaders claim their work as a safety net is cutting into their bottom line. It's a bridge without an owner. Well, someone owns it, but we just don't know who. With the NBA Finals putting a spotlight on Denver, could it help the mystery bridge get a makeover? Colorado Republicans are playing chicken with a deadline to avoid a catastrophic debt default as they hold out for major spending cuts. And lifeguarding isn't just for teens anymore.
I was never a lifeguard as a kid. It's the first time I've ever been a lifeguard.
A group of retirees proves you're never too old to dive into something new. Tonight on Next. Denver Health will treat any patient that comes through its doors, regardless of if they can actually pay for it. It's known as the city's safety net hospital. But when the hospital loses $120 million in 1 year treating uninsured patients, they're left to ask for more money or begin cutting services. Outside the emergency room,
The community as a whole relies on us.
there's a plea for help at Denver Health.
Yeah, we lost $32 million in 2022.
Donna Lynn is the CEO of the hospital. The losses were fueled by a dramatic rise in what Denver Health calls uncompensated care. That's when doctors treat someone who's uninsured or can't pay for their care. In 2020, uncompensated care cost them $60 million. By 2022, it doubled to $120 million.
So we take care of patients regardless of their ability to pay. We've been taking care of some of the migrants that just came to Denver, but others who are residents of Denver who, for whatever reason, don't have insurance.
Today, help came in the form of a press conference announcing a $10 million commitment by Kaiser Permanente.
Let's come together and support this vital institution.
But the commitment comes with a plea. Kaiser will give half the money now and the other half as a matching donation once someone else puts up some money as well. The healthcare provider's regional president says other groups in the community need to step up and help.
A strong healthcare safety net benefits our entire community, and Denver Health needs us all now.
Earlier this year, the state gave another $5 million to Denver Health to try and fill the holes. But Lynn says it's not enough.
So we have to go through a cycle of, do we shut down services that are necessary because we can't afford to provide them?
Thank you for spreading the word, and thank you for supporting Denver Health.
As the so-called safety net hospital, Denver Health houses patients that can't go back outside after a trip to the hospital if they have nowhere else to go. Sometimes up to 50 people a day, many of which are homeless. The hospital is now renovating an office building down the street to provide transitional housing for people who need it coming out of getting treatment. Meanwhile, lawmakers are trying to figure out a way to regulate hospital bills. New law signed today will force hospitals to be more transparent about so-called facility fees, upcharges tacked onto patient care, outpatient care that is, at clinics owned by a hospital. Those fees essentially pay for everything outside of the doctor, from nurses and technicians to those who keep these facilities clean. Hospitals, including Denver Health, oppose the new law, saying these fees are essential to keeping services going, but critics of the practice say the fees are often a surprise. The new law will keep most hospitals from charging those fees for preventative care and require all hospitals to inform patients whenever those fees apply. We've all seen these insanely high property values coming with some matching high property taxes. You can appeal those numbers, but today we learned of one more excuse that does not work. State Supreme Court decided the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic cannot be used to get a property tax cut. The court handed down that decision today in 4 cases covering more than 200 commercial property owners. Those property owners were challenging their county assessors who had denied their appeals for lowered property valuations. Property values were recalculated this year based on information from the prior 2 years. The business owners in these cases argued the economic impact of COVID-19 shutdowns and public health restrictions should be taken into account. Ultimately, the court decided the pandemic did not count as a, quote, act of nature. Things like floods or earthquakes, which assessors can consider when calculating property values or reviewing appeals. Assessors say if you want to appeal a commercial property value, they suggest including information like operating statements or lease agreements. The deadline to get those appeals in is June 8th. There is a bridge over Cherry Creek in need of a little tender love and care. Problem is, no one is raising their hand to say they own it. It's right outside Ball Arena. So now people traveling to Denver for the NBA Finals will get a glimpse of the displeasure the folks who see it every day from their homes have to see. Someone snuck down to the bridge this weekend and hung a sign begging the city to just fix their connection. Here's Steve Stager.
Don't be fooled with how fast Cherry Creek flows under the old railroad bridges near Ball Arena. The sign hanging from the steel is a reminder that things still move slow around here.
It says, fix me, Denver.
Really slow.
Fix me, Denver.
Andrea Kahn says she has no idea who put this up this weekend.
I don't know.
But she's been begging, pleading for 2 years, asking for someone, anyone, to fix this pedestrian bridge where Delgany ends at Cherry Creek.
This bridge is like a thoroughfare from this part of the city to Ball Arena to the bike path on the other side.
The city shut it down about 2 years ago after wood collapsed under someone's foot,
Follow the thing all the way down, and it'll go right down to the bike side.
cutting off a quick connection to the park on the other side.
I mean, we have this wonderful piece of green space that is the only green space between here and left field.
Since then, it's just sat there.
It seems that nobody wants to fix it. Nobody wants to put any money out.
The city told us 9 months ago in a story they were trying to figure out who owns the bridge. The nonprofit Greenway Foundation had been taking care of it for years and didn't have the ownership paperwork. 9 months later, they said today they could never figure ownership out. They've since welded a gate at each entrance, and a city spokeswoman said crews will inspect the bridge this summer and see what needs to be done.
I would like it fixed in my lifetime. I'm hoping it won't take that long. Because I'm planning to be kind of old.
In the meantime, Andrea says the broken bridge and handmade sign send a message as the national spotlight descends on the building across the street.
This is supposed to be a very walkable, bikeable city, and it isn't.
So the city inspectors will check out the bridges in that area this summer, but a spokeswoman says there is no funding set aside to fix that bridge in particular. They could try to find a grant to do it. Councilman Chris Hines, who's running for re-election to fill the seat that would represent that area, says that he would be willing to fork over cash from his council district budget to fund a land surveyor to actually go out there and try to determine who owns the property and whose responsibility this might be. But you imagine all the people in the neighborhood there are getting sick of it.
Well, you see it in like those promos for the NBA. As soon as it comes down into Ball Arena, you kind of see that bridge right there. Of course, Ball Arena right across the street. Mr. Stan Kroenke has a lot of money. Any chance he might step in and say, hey, we'll just take care of it.
Think about it. So I asked a lobbyist for KSE Sports or Kroenke Sports and Entertainment today. They told me that they are aware that the bridge is out. They said that they would like things fixed, wouldn't go any further than that. But you can imagine with what goes on at Ball Arena, we've had 2 championship seasons. Well, 1 championship and 1 final season.
We're close.
Plus a big development plan there. They want to do something to make sure that people have access to that area. The question now is, how do you figure out the ownership? How do you deal with an expensive cost to fix the bridge?
But they didn't reply to you today and say, yeah, we'll just take care of it.
No, not
We'll
yet.
wait for that.
Not yet. Maybe that championship money will.
Exactly. Wink, wink. Steve, thank you. We now know who will likely be the next education commissioner in Colorado. The state board selected just a single finalist, and she's a familiar face. Susana Cordova served a brief stint as superintendent of Denver Public Schools from 2019 to 2020. She was the district's first Latina superintendent, but she left DPS in 2020 after juggling the first teacher strike in 25 years, pandemic learning, and a rocky relationship with the school board. When she left the district for a job in Dallas, Denver Mayor Michael Hancock and former Mayor Federico Pena claimed that she was pushed out by a, quote, dysfunctional school board. As commissioner of education, Cordova would advise the state board, prepare the budgets department, as well as work with local education leaders. The State Board of Education unanimously selected Cordova from a pool of 6 semifinalists for the job. They'll vote for her appointment in the next month. Well, we are a week away from Denver's runoff election, and if you're still holding on to a ballot, it's officially too late to stick it in the mail. That's important. Still have until next Tuesday to cast your ballot. You'll just have to take it to a drop box or vote in person. No voting by mail anymore. The big ticket race, of course, is the mayoral race in Denver here between Mike Johnston and Kelly Brough, but there's a handful of city council races still up for grabs in districts 8, 9, and 10. If you live in City Council District 7, you'll see your ballot on the race. You'll see a race on the ballot, but it's actually already been decided. The opponent in that race dropped off last month. 12% of voters had turned in their ballots going into the holiday weekend, according to the Denver Clerk's office. In last month's general election, 39% of voters returned their ballots, but almost half of those voters waited until Election Day.
This is an unlimited debt increase.
Colorado Republicans join a conservative group of lawmakers trying to sink a debt limit deal, and they call themselves the Immortals. A group of North Glen retirees suits up to fight a lifeguard shortage. Next. It's that time of the year when you look outside and it's either perfectly beautiful or you see a tornado. And that could change even if you just drive a couple miles. Things here in Denver were calm today, but out on the eastern plains, they got tornadoes and some landspouts as well. This video came in around 4:30 today, taken outside Eads in Kiowa County. A landspout also touched down in nearby Prowers County. Officials there say nobody was hurt, just some minor damage to an abandoned building. Danielle Grant knows all about this. Danielle, you and I have lived here long enough to know that around this time of year, you could see some rain, some nasty looking clouds, and then every day it just is the same thing. It sounds like that's what's in store this week.
Lather, rinse, repeat. I know. I feel like a broken...
For better or worse?
I feel like a broken record, Mark, because yes, that's pretty much going to be the name of the game as we look ahead toward the rest of this work week, even into the weekend to come. As we look off to the eastern plains, see this area in blue. That's going to be a severe thunderstorm watch in place until 11 o'clock tonight. Again, most of the action has been across the far eastern plains. Still some pretty strong cells just to the north of Cheyenne Wells, north of Holly, and then wow, a lot of action going off tonight in Kansas as well as Nebraska. As we look back here in the metro area, so far so good. Still some strong rumblers around Callahan. Otherwise, maybe 1 or 2 quick showers later this evening. Otherwise, this has been a great shot. The winds, they've been kicking up from time to time here, anywhere between 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts up into northern Colorado. But look at some of these wind reports from earlier this afternoon. Close to 60 mile per hour speeds around Wiggins, Centennial, Buckley Air Force Base, 50 mile per hour gusts, DIA. It was quite blustery too. The good news is these storms will be marching off to the eastern side of our state into Nebraska, parts of Kansas within the next couple of hours. All of that action will be out of Colorado. That's about 8 o'clock. And then as we go overnight into tomorrow morning, everything clears out. We'll wake up to a few clouds here in the city, and then by the afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock, like clockwork, we'll do it all over again. Thunderstorms pushing in from the southwest, tracking off to the northeast, I should say, right there around I-76. Once they move out off to the eastern plains, they will have a better shot at potentially turning severe. Large hail, damaging winds, all going to be in the cards for us. Late tomorrow night, however, still some thunderstorms up in the mountains, and we might find a few here in the city. Again, the worst of it going to be east of the I-25 corridor, everywhere in yellow, under that slight risk for severe weather. Tomorrow's still going to be a warm day. Upper 70s, low 80s for eastern Colorado, 50s, 60s up in the mountains, and look what happens. Winds will be kicking up. We'll still be tracking storms on Thursday, and then the weekend arrives, upper 60s. It's just going to be a soggy weekend forecast, but the 70s and the afternoon thunderstorms are back next week.
Tomorrow in Washington, House lawmakers will vote on a deal to avoid a debt default. But representatives on the far left and far right are not happy with the compromise, and they're threatening to sink that deal.
Tomorrow's bill hands Biden a blank check, as it doesn't actually set a debt limit.
Colorado Republican Representatives Lauren Boebert and Ken Buck are among those who have promised a no vote on the bill. They're both members of the conservative House Freedom Caucus, which demanded much larger spending cuts than those outlined in the final proposal. The caucus has hinted that they'll file a motion to remove House Speaker Kevin McCarthy if the deal goes through. State Republican Party is calling on Colorado Republican Representative Doug Lamborn to join the opposition. So far, Lamborn hasn't committed on the deal. North Glen's newest lifeguard recruits don't look like your typical lifeguards.
Most lifeguards get marketed, if you look at all the ads, 15 and up. Well, we're way up.
When a group of retirees noticed a staff shortage at their local rec center, they decided to fill the gaps themselves. Next. Keeping the swimming pools open this summer isn't always easy. You've probably heard by now that there's a lifeguard shortage. And it's not just the high school kids stepping up to fill those jobs. A group of retirees in North Glen prove expanding the recruiting pool might just be a good idea.
If you swim enough laps at any pool anywhere in the country, you're going to realize there are times when they don't have lifeguards.
Throughout the country, it's a lifeguard shortage.
And now we've got all 6 lanes busy.
This is the lap pool at the North Glen Rec Center. One of the guards didn't have a chance to get a break, so he asked us if we'd get out of the water, and there's like 5 of us that swim all the time.
It was suggested that we should do something about it. And I think the words were, put your money where your mouth is. So step up and become lifeguards. We, when I say that, I mean the Immortals, which is a group of 5 retired or semi-retired people who stepped up despite being maybe older than the average lifeguard to be lifeguards. Fellow Immortal, that's Brad.
There was all kinds of different names we were thinking of, the Gray Guards, but we didn't want it to be like, like Old Fogey or something, so.
So we are part of the solution. 5 of us now. We don't have that problem anymore.
It gave me another sense of community, so that's the part I love.
Being active, whether it's this or a food bank, helping out in a school, it's important for your mental health. Here, it's also physical health. It encourages us to keep swimming. You have to outdo the kids,
I love that. You heard him say it. Put your money where your mouth is, and they're doing just that and keeping their pool open. It's a paid gig for the Immortals. They had to do interviews, pass drug tests, and prove their physical prowess by even diving down deep into a pool and retrieving a brick from 10 feet underwater. They hope to see more retirees branch out, find new ways to stay active in their communities, just like they are. It is electrical vehicle owners versus everyone else. It's the most Colorado thing we saw today. That and your feedback. Next. The most Colorado thing we saw today was a different type of road rage, a war of words of sorts. Caroline spotted these 2 cars on McCaslin Boulevard in Louisville. The dueling license plates. The BMW on the left's plate says, "No EV for me." And just ahead in the other lane, a Tesla's plate reads, "Ciao gas." Just goes to show you can be headed down the same road and still be going in different directions. When you see something that feels extra Colorado, email it to us at next on9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext. Let's get to a little bit of feedback here today. Someone thought that I was Steve Stater and Steve was anchoring. Thank you, but I can't grow a beard like that. We'll see you next time.